Welcome back to the Author Spotlight. I'm so glad you're here today. Our next guest was recently on Fox 10 in Pensacola, and so excited to have him here. Tony Pollard is a best-selling author and a speaker and a coach, and he's written a new book called Driven by the Heart. And the thing that's so exciting about this book to me, it's got so many practical takeaways. It's a guide to passionate living, and it finds you at a place in your life where you hit rock bottom, you don't know what to do, and then he gives you hope. As a nationally recognized leader, speaker, and trainer, Tony helps businesses who want to have stronger, more committed teams through his business. Tony Pollard Speaks. He understands how to unlock a team's potential to achieve more collaborative environment, often resulting in increased bottom line. People everywhere are raving about his new book, Driven by the Heart, and Tony, is so glad to have you here today on the Author Spotlight. How you doing?
Michael, glad to be here. Glad to be here. Hey, look, everybody falls down once in a while. It's what you do to get back up that makes us champions. So when we're driven by the heart,
boom,
we can accomplish anything and change the world.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, I tell you, you're inspiring people. You're speaking everywhere, even in this pandemic. What inspired you to write this book, Tony?
Failure. We all fail. And so when I failed completely and utterly, look, I was a guy who was on the fast track in my career as an educator, became a principal, and then within 3 days, I lost that job. Now, I could do one or two things. I could accept the demotion and just waller in that for the next 10 years of my career, or I could decide to get up. I remember pulling over at a Sam's Club, crying and posting on Facebook, oh, I've ruined my life or ruined my family. And 2 hours later, I removed that post and I literally Googled, how do you repair your failure? How do you repair yourself from a setback on a job? And I just started living everything that I could find on repairing yourself from failure and setbacks. And that's what led to this. I started reading books. I've read over 450 books now. I've listened to listening and reading books year in and year out. My goal is 52 a year. And then that started me on the path to writing my own book. Just those stories, just my own stories of war, single father, PTSD from the war, failure on the job. And then I said, oh, I've got stories I can share. But as I read those other people's stories, everybody has a story to share. We've all experienced setbacks and failure, and we can all grow from them to be better. And that's really what this book is about. Everybody growing and building themselves up from adversity and resilience.
Driven by the Heart, a guide to passionate living. Tony, thanks so much for your service. What branch of the military did you retire from?
So I was active duty Army, stationed in Germany. Literally found out I was going to Desert Storm on the Armed Forces Network. We were done with our work day, went home, started watching Rocky and Bullwinkle. They interrupted the cartoon, and Dick Cheney says, hey, you're going to war, my unit in Germany. Next thing we knew, within 2 months, we were in Desert Storm. And wow. So I spent 6 months there, and I was in a combat unit. So I saw war. I saw it firsthand. There's nothing worse than the smell of death and stench. And but you can fall from that, or you can grow from that. And I grew from that. So
well, that's such a quick turnaround, bouncing back from everything you've been through, the PTSD, the divorce. I'm just looking at the back of your book. You have so many people here that you've spoken for and that you've served with that are bragging about your message, Driven by the Heart. Executive Baldwin at EMC says, Tony blew it out of the water. We're definitely going to have him come back to do more training for us. Give us an idea of where the title came from and really what the book is about.
The title came from myself in deciding to pick myself up, because everything I started doing was to put myself in an uncomfortable situation. And that was writing, that was reading. So everything I did was to put myself in an uncomfortable situation. And by doing that, I realized, hey, I'm living differently now. I am doing things from the heart. I'm not just accepting where I am. I'm doing things. There's a level here and there's a level here. And I started living here and trying to live my life here completely. Do I always do that? No, we don't always do that. We don't always live up here, but the goal is to try to stay up here more often than you're down here. And that's when we're living fully and completely from the heart.
Well, I think it's very powerful because I know as men in particular, I've been through a lot of this. I haven't been through war, and I haven't served our country like you have. Thank you for that. But raising children, going through a divorce years ago, going through a bankruptcy, it's hard for guys with egos. But somebody said your ego is not your amigo. I like that, and I've tried to live by that because you know what? We don't always ask for direction. You're very candid and vulnerable and open about the pain and the losses you've had. What are some of the setbacks you've encountered, and how have you bounced back from those?
Let's start when I was a child. I was diagnosed I was put in resource classes, so I was a special needs student in school. I wasn't very good at reading, wasn't very good at math. And so every day from 3rd grade until 8th grade, I had to leave the class to go to some resource room and have some teacher help me to be better. But I'm a child of the 70s, so kids would bully you about stuff like that. It's not like that quite anymore. I wore glasses. I had this funny haircut. So I experienced bullying, and I was a special needs student. And I literally had a high school counselor going into 8th grade to 9th grade say, you should really think about becoming a ditch digger or something like that. So when you have people tell you it's not going to amount to anything, you've got to do something about it. And I really chose to do something about it. I joined the Army. Who would have thought Tony Pollard, if you know me, would go to college? I started taking college classes in the Army. When I got out, I just went one class at a time. Oh, I made the dean's list. Oh, I did this again. Before you knew it, I had a 2-year degree. I had my associates. Next thing I knew, I had my education degree. I started teaching.
Did your confidence grow along the way as well? Did you have anybody in your family or in your life that was encouraging you or giving you words of affirmation, or did you just give yourself self-affirmation?
I am so lucky. I had a mom and dad who really taught us how to work hard. And when you have people teach you how to work hard and build you up, then you can overcome anything. Because as long as you have a direction and a desire to work hard, then normally you're going to go out and try to achieve something a little more. Because I am a hard worker. I will do anything and everything to get to the next step. I told my work colleagues the other day, I said, I'm a competitor. I want to win at all costs on the right way and the right path, but I don't want to lose. I don't want to be the guy sitting back on the bench saying, oh, I didn't get a chance to play. I'm going to do everything I can to say I'm going to be in the game.
Well, I love that. That's a great attitude. And it sounds like you had a great upbringing. You're really blessed and fortunate for that. What is the best advice you could give a young person right now? Or what advice would you give the younger version of yourself?
I would have told myself to step out of your comfort zone. Don't just be satisfied with working hard. Be satisfied with living at a different level. Because I went through a lot of fears. So although I got my college degree, although I stepped out of my comfort zone and that, once I started my education career and I had a family and I had my daughter, I was comfortable. And then I was satisfied in that comfort zone. It wasn't until I experienced failure years later that I said, oh, I've really missed out on a lot of things in life. And then when I started living uncomfortably again, everything started changing. My life is, boy, if I could just tell you, my life just, every year it seems like something new and better is happening to me.
Well, I know you're speaking everywhere. You're doing podcasts everywhere. You were just on Fox 10 there locally. And I know you're in the education space and in the administration side. You love kids. You love paying it forward. What would you say to somebody that's kind of stuck, right? Maybe they lost their job during this pandemic, or maybe they just, lost their financial resources. If you lose an income and you're supporting a family, or particularly as a single dad, what advice would you give? Because it seems like over the years, you've kind of been a master of reinvention. Sometimes people go through a divorce or they go through a life change or get fired from a job. And they just can never get past the pain. It's like they hold a grudge, but it looks like you're always like 3 steps ahead. I'm looking at Tony Pollard Speaks right now, and you've spoken on some amazing stages. You've got some amazing workshops and videos here where you're speaking, you're in the news, you're being interviewed. I mean, you've got clients that like, Baldwin EMC and companies like TSD and the U.S. Air Force that that you've contributed to and made an impact. What advice would you say to keep moving forward? How do you maintain that positivity and create something for yourself if nobody else believes in you?
So this happened to me the other day. You get in a place of comfort and you don't want to step out of it. So you actually had a writing class, and I was taking that writing class. And so I've been writing my third book now, and I've gotten where I kind of was stagnating. I wasn't writing again. But the other day I had to force myself to get back on the wagon and to write 15 minutes a day. Once you start the thing you want to accomplish, all of a sudden it becomes a habit. And so now I'm writing again, which is challenging me.
You're working on your third book right now. I mean,
Yeah.
It kind of becomes habitual, like running. It's like you were telling me, if you don't mind, I'll just put the link up there. What would you say to somebody that's kind of had trouble, they're stuck in getting that book out? What did the group really do for you?
That group was so amazing. I'm actually in a group of friends now. We challenge each other every day, or send something every other day. Hey, how's it going? How you been doing? How's that writing going? So I think all three of us have launched a book now through you, which has been great. But we still keep up with each other. We're not just satisfied with.
I know when you went number one on Amazon, because you went number one on Amazon, was it 3 or 4 categories? It was you did pretty effectively because you're pre-selling the ebook. You went number one, and it's like you're right. And you've got your friend here, Elizabeth, is making comments. She's watching yesterday. She had like 3,700 people comment on her yesterday when she did her book Kidnap. So you make friends. But as far as the networking, it seems like, I know you're involved in Toastmasters. You've done NSA before. What kind of advice would you give a new author or somebody that's wanting to break into the speaking career more? Because I know you get paid to speak now. And since the COVID, you've been doing virtual events where you're getting paid. What advice would you give to a speaker that's maybe been doing free speeches or doing Toastmasters and they want to break into getting paid as a speaker?
So I actually just spoke to a Toastmasters group of several men from different Toastmasters clubs. And the main thing is you've got to step out. You got to find someone like you. You've got to find other people. You've got to reach out. And that's what I was willing to do. And some people aren't willing to do that. I saw your show earlier, and Daniel Gomez was talking about, and you were talking about reach out to the $1 billion club. So if that's your goal, you got to reach out to those people. And although it may feel uncomfortable, and sometimes I'm in a setting that I feel there's people here and I'm here, but I've got to be willing to step over in that setting with them, even though it's uncomfortable for me. And that's what you really have to do. You just really got to step out on faith and out of your comfort zone. And next thing you know, you're a part of that group, which is really amazing.
Well, I love that. That's a very powerful concept. And I'm sure your years in battle and with the U.S. Military, the Army, you were in some uncomfortable situations. What would you say to somebody coming home that's struggling with PTSD? Because I know you speak to military families and military associations as well. And I heard you say before, and I want to emphasize this because your goal is to read a book a week, 52 books a year. You know, you're not the same person after 3 or 4 years after you've read a couple hundred books. So comment on that. If somebody's really stuck in a PTSD or a bad situation, how can they just keep improving? And can they, or is it too late?
It's never too late. So when I came back from Desert Storm, I was angry. And although I started college and I took one class a semester or 2 classes a quarter, I think quarter system was that, I was angry. And it wasn't until I decided to get some help and just sit down and open myself up to a counselor that I started feeling better about myself. My best friend, he struggled for 10 years after Desert Storm. He just could not get past it. He was always angry. If you go in a gas station, he would be angry about that. He would find stuff to be angry about. But it wasn't until he came to Alabama, where I am from Texas, and I just was blunt with him, kind of like Dr. Phil. I said, man, you're an alcoholic. You're just sitting in this place. There's more to it. That's all I said to my best friend, and he was mad at me, but he's just stopped. Like
You're a true friend.
We're going to college. He's very successful now. He has a great marriage. He's faithful to God, and it's just amazing to watch him be a success and both of us be a success together.
Well, you know, true friends aren't afraid to faithful are the wounds of a friend. I don't know if that's in Psalms or Proverbs, but somewhere there, we've all needed a friend like that. And really, people want a friend like that. I think a lot of parents think their kids need them to be their friends, but really our kids need us to speak truth in their life, right? What is the one change that a listener can make right now to get them closer to success?
Do one minor thing. That's what I did. So for me, when I experienced that failure, I Googled, what can I do next? I read Brian Tracy's book, Eat That Frog First, and I started doing minor things. I write goals down now. I'd never written goals down for years. So now I'm almost 50. I turned 50 in October. I write down 10 goals a day. Those goals may be the same or they may change, but I make sure I write those goals down. Once you start doing that, it does become a habit and you start living it. I wrote, oh, I want a promotion on the job. That happened. Oh, I want to be doing this. That happened. When you do it, it manifests in your life and things start to change.
Wow, that's epic. And it's really practical and actionable. Everybody wants to create the overnight lottery type winning, but true success comes just taking one step at a time. And really gold medals are won just like that 1% factor of doing that extra percentage every day in the practice room. I remember in the wrestling room in high school, there was a big sign that said, if I am to be, it is up to me. And you had to believe that because wrestling is an individual sport. It's a team sport, but it comes down to you versus the other guy on the mat. And really it's you versus you because it's the fatigue and the pain. And so overcoming fatigue and pain, how do you get comfortable in a growth mode? Because people say there's no growth outside the comfort zone. I mean, you know more than anyone, and I can't imagine how you prepare mentally, spiritually, physically for a combat mission, then how you decompress when that's done. How did your military training translate into success in business? Did you use some of those, and do you use some of those leadership skills now to help you succeed?
Definitely. Everything you can learn in the military can transition to your civilian life. And for me, it was about getting up when you fall. If you're doing in the military, you train on obstacle courses and things like that, and you fall a lot and you don't win. Sometimes you hurt, sometimes you ache. But the thing is to get back up and to continue the course. And that's what I started doing with this life. For me, I was never going to be a public speaker. When I would talk to my faculty members as an assistant principal, my whole body would shake. That would never, but I had to start. So I went to, my wife said, oh, you try Toastmasters. She's from business side of life. And I went to Toastmasters and they said, oh, do you want to do table topics? And I kind of looked around and I said, yes, let me do it. Because that was my new life and my new passion was to put myself in an uncomfortable situation. So I did table topics. Next week I did a speech. The next week I did another speech. So I'm on a 5 years now later, and now I'm speaking all over.
You're getting paid to speak. You're getting paid for live events. You're getting paid for virtual events, and you also get paid for coaching and consulting. What are the industries you primarily coach and consult in? What do your products and services look like, and how can somebody engage you? What's kind of your sweet spot? Because I know you've got this background in the military and in education, but you've been kind of giving me some hints on where you're headed, and it's pretty exciting. I don't know how much of it you can share, but how can people engage you now with coaching and consulting?
So I work with a lot of public service people. So educators, I'll use that since I'm a teacher and administrator. We teach for 20 years and sometimes we stagnate. And we're in this classroom and all of a sudden we become miserable teachers or miserable bus drivers or miserable paraeducators. And what do we do to get out of that? That's what I do. Well, I challenge people to step back out of their comfort zone, reignite their career, reignite their personal faith and why they started education. For me, I knew I came from a special needs background, so I wanted to work with students that struggle with reading and math. And that's what I started doing. And that was my passion. Then I said, oh, I want to become a school administrator. So you got to constantly grow. But if you just want to be in the classroom for 25, 30 years, you can't just stagnate. You got to constantly grow. You got to constantly get past that. And I kind of work with public service agencies like co-ops and stuff. When you're an electrician and you're on a line, and that's what you do day in and day out, it can be kind of draining on you. And all of a sudden you lose your passion for life. The goal is to teach people and guide people to become passionate again. Reignite that vision that drove them all
I like what Sergeant Ganal said. He said inspirational, talking about your talk, and the book is Tony is inspirational and driven by the heart. I began doing things from the heart since I've read Tony's book. And A1C Huffcut has said a guide to passionate living is a must read for those who are floundering, such as young adults, early career professionals who have not found their true calling. I know you speak everywhere. What's some of the biggest takeaways that you get? I mean, because I know every time I speak all over the country, and I know you're in the world, and you're coming to Dallas soon to do media interviews and to speak on stage. You are a nationally recognized leader, speaker, trainer, and you help businesses who want to have stronger, more committed teams. This is so valuable. And I think employee engagement is a huge thing, particularly with millennials and Generation Z. And we were talking about this in corporate, very specific, retaining and keeping a employee happy is so much more cost effective for a company than having to hire and train new people. But what are some of the after you speak on a stage and people come up to you, what's some of the feedback you're getting from people and from HR managers?
They love what I'm bringing. So every time I speak on a stage, I want to give everybody a little heart. And it's neat when I've spoken 2 years ago to a group and someone comes up to me, oh, I remember that story, and I keep my heart. Because every time I finish the story, I say, hey, put this heart by your heart. And whenever you're having a setback or you're feeling down, just pull the heart out. And I share some very emotional stories from me personally, but there's also stories of people throughout the world. And this is a very diverse book. And they'll pull the heart out and say, hey, I still have my heart. Thank you. And I'm living things, I'm doing things differently, and I'm doing things in a different way. And that's the goal. I really want to be at 7 billion people in the world. 7 point, I would love to give everybody this little heart and help them change their life if we can.
Wow, I just love that, and I think that's so powerful and memorable, and I love it that you're making an impact and leaving a legacy. Attorney Deborah Risdorf says, "Do you want to be inspired? Read 1 or 20 chapters in Tony's book, From the Heart." And she's got some great things to say here on your website at Tony Pollard Speaks. Well, I know you're on social media. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. You're on YouTube and everywhere. Books are sold. People can grab your book at Barnes & Noble. They can grab your book on Amazon. Of course, they can grab your book from your website, which would be best. So can you give us a little peek into book number 3 and what you got coming for us?
So my next book I've been writing, it's the title now, the preliminary title is Out of the Shadows. And I'm kind of working backwards with this book. So sometimes it's kind of kind of travels back to Driven by the Heart. So we get in the shadows, we're afraid to come out of them, and we kind of just sit down. We allow the weight of life to beat us down, and we're not willing to step out. So the goal is, hey, once you step out of the shadows, things change. So Adam and Eve were naked, but as soon as they put on the clothing, they were vulnerable. The goal is to live life vulnerable all the time. Be willing to be out of the shadows. Don't hide in the shadows. Don't sit outside the ring. Get in the ring of life and participate. If you do that, you're going to change your life, but you're going to provide service to so many others. It's going to change their life, and that's really that's the goal of this book. But that's also the goal I'm kind of going with the next book. So.
Well, I love what you said right there. You said a key word. I think a lot of young people forget this because there's a lot of young millennials that grow up in if they've grown up in a well-to-do family and they've got the car, they've never had to work a day in their life, and now they want to be ballers. They want to be they want to show off their, they go rent a Lamborghini and take a picture and act like it's their Lamborghini or whatever. But I think there's something to be said. I grew up on the farm, and I appreciate the hard work ethic my parents gave me and all those values I learned on the farm in Oklahoma. But you said service, and I think that's a key there. People want to get paid, but you've got to provide a product or a service that's actually beneficial to people. And as you build a suite of services out, I mean, you've got a book now, you've got coaching program, but you've also got other things that are coming. I mean, you're speaking, but you've got new books coming out. And so give me more ideas. We wrap things up here. An idea of services you offer if somebody's going to hire you to coach. What are some of the packages that you sell, or what's some of the expertise that you give in a one-on-one coaching?
So when they bring me in, or a business brings me in, I want everything to be engaging for them. I'm a learner. I'm a hands-on learner. So we'll do improv training. When and that's scary for everybody, but it's the most fun they will have. And it's their improv games, and all of their games, they engage an entire team, and all of a sudden they realize, oh, there is a leader in here, and I'm a leader, but I didn't even realize I was a leader, and they start changing. So we'll do improv games. There'll be other, I'm not just talking to them, I'm engaging them. They're part of the talk, and when they leave, they're excited, and all of a sudden they're taking these things and ideas back with them.
Well, I think that's powerful, and I want to see this book again. Hold it up and tell us, Driven by the Heart is a guide to passionate living. And if you want to truly live a fulfilled life and a meaningful life, that you leave a legacy, and that you also monetize along the way, because changing people's lives is synonymous with getting paid well, and you don't have to divorce the two at all. I'm really proud of the work you've done. I'm really proud of your story and everything you've overcome, Tony. And I'm just honored that you allow us to publish your book and help get you on some stages here, and that you're part of the Global Elite Speakers Bureau. So we're excited to market you and your services to the world. And what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
The best way for them to get a hold of me is to go to TonyPollardSpeaks.com. Email me there, get my contact information, and I will respond back to you as soon as I can. And but that's really the best way to get a hold of me. Look, I want to come talk to you. I want to work with your teams and groups, but I really want to help people to live in a different way. When I say driven by the heart, I want people to be driven by the heart completely and fully.
Well, we want you to speak to all of our authors and team at Beyond Publishing, because you provide so much value in the offerings that you have, and I appreciate you for being with us. And I look forward to meeting you in person soon when you come to Dallas. And so excited to help you launch this book and get it out to the world and get you on some of these global stages in 2021 with us. Thank you, Tony, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of the Author Spotlight. Grab it now on Amazon. You've already gone #1 in multiple categories, and the hardback is available, and the mass market paperback came out last week, and you can get it anywhere books are sold, including it's coming, if not already, it's on Target.com and Walmart.com. So grab it where you love to buy books, and you can actually ask for it at your local Barnes & Noble or your locally owned and operated. Support your local bookstores and ask them if they don't have Driven by the Heart. Give them the ISBN. They can order it. They can get it on the shelf for you. Tony, thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend.
Michael. Thanks, everybody. You have a great weekend. Thank you.
Any college football shout outs you want to do as we close?
My wife is from Iowa, so she's watching the Iowa State game right now, and I know she would rather see the Hawkeyes. But yeah, it's kind of funny. My wife is a college football fanatic. So
Iowa is big, and Boomer Sooner, my son and my brother, Oklahoma Sooners are playing today, and so big shout out. We're going to start playing football again and getting healthy and staying healthy. Have a good one, Tony. Thanks for being with us.
You as well. Thank you.